Indiana State Police were kept busy solving several cases over the last 24 hours. What all they accomplished, plus the Indy Honor Flight is looking to add a hub in southern Indiana, and District 48 State Senator Mark Messmer is joining us for tonight's edition of Inform, the legislative update. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin this evening with a busy 24 hours for Indiana State Police as they cracked 2 cases and arrested a speeding motorist who was found to be on drugs. We begin with the investigations, first to Tell City, where a man was arrested following a 7-month-long investigation into child pornography allegations. State police say the investigation into 64-year-old William Jordan began last July after authorities believed he was sharing pornographic images of children through various internet sites. State police say the sharing occurred from July into August of last year. Yesterday morning, investigators with the Indiana State Police's Cybercrime Investigative Technology Section, along with members of the Indiana Crimes Against Children Task Force, executed a search warrant issued through Perry County at Jordan's Tell City residence. At that time, detectives took numerous computer and digital media items that were found to have sexually explicit videos that showed sex acts involving children as young as toddlers. Jordan was arrested without incident and was booked into the Perry County Jail. He faces 12 Level 6 felony counts for possession of child pornography. He is also facing 5 Level 6 felony counts for disseminating child pornography. The Tell City and Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Departments, along with Warwick County Sheriff's deputies, also assisted. The second case takes us north to Martin County, where a lengthy drug investigation involving multiple government and law enforcement agencies ended with 6 people arrested on methamphetamine-related felony charges. Yesterday at around 5 a.m., state police joined with the Martin and Davies County Sheriff's Departments, the Drug Enforcement Agency Task Force, U.S. Marshals, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for an operations briefing in an area outside of Martin County. At around 6:15, 3 teams simultaneously executed search and arrest warrants from a narcotics investigation that began in the county last summer. Now, state police say all 6 people targeted in this bust were taken into police custody without incident by 7 o'clock. Those 6 were targeted for the sale and distribution of meth. Those taken into custody were 60-year-old Kevin Steele, 45-year-old Michael Klein, and 55-year-old Frank Nolly, all of Lagodi, 37-year-old James Messerash and 26-year-old Tiffany Ball, both of Shoals, and 39-year-old Sheila Taylor of Rossville. All 6 had initial court hearings in front of the Martin County judge yesterday afternoon. Street faces 3 felonies. These are a Level 5 felony for dealing in methamphetamine, along with a Level 4 felony for dealing with methamphetamine, and 2 Level 2 felonies for conspiracy to deal in methamphetamine. He is being held on $250,000 cash-only bond and filed a court motion as a habitual offender. Meanwhile, Klein is facing Level 3 felonies for dealing in methamphetamine and conspiracy to deal in methamphetamine. He is also charged with Level 2 felonies for dealing in methamphetamine and 2 counts on the Level 2 level for conspiring to deal in methamphetamine. Klein filed a motion for 16 years as a prior conviction during his court hearing. He's being held without bond. Now, Messerash is also being held without bond. He is facing a Level 5 felony for dealing in methamphetamine. Taylor's bond was set at $75,000. She is charged with a Level 6 felony for possession of methamphetamine and Level 4 felonies for dealing and conspiring to deal in methamphetamine. Nolly's bond was set at $50,000. He's charged with a Class A misdemeanor for possession of paraphernalia, a Level 6 felony for maintaining a common nuisance, and a Level 5 felony for possession of methamphetamine. Finally, Ball is facing a Level 5 felony for dealing in methamphetamine. Her bond also was set at $50,000. In a news release, Martin County Prosecutor Mike Steiner says he appreciates the attention to detail and hard work of all of the law enforcement agencies involved. He also thanked Martin County Chief Deputy Prosecutor Larry Broger for all of his work on the case. And last but certainly not least among the state police items, a Louisville man caught speeding along Interstate 64 in northern Spencer County yesterday morning wound up spending the day in jail on intoxication charges. Just before 10:05 yesterday morning, an ISP trooper was patrolling along I-64 near the 61-mile marker when he noted a black 2004 BMW sedan going eastbound at more than 100 miles an hour. After catching up with and stopping the car, the trooper noted that there was an odor of burnt marijuana coming from the vehicle. 2 other state police troopers were called in to assist, and they later found that the driver, 21-year-old Logan Davis, was under the influence of marijuana. Davis was then arrested without incident and booked into the Spencer County Jail. He is facing a Class A misdemeanor for operating while intoxicated with a controlled substance. On a final note here, Indiana State Police are reminding motorists that if they see another driver driving recklessly on the highway, they should call 911 immediately. You should be able to tell the dispatcher where the vehicle is, what direction it's going in, and what the reckless driving behavior is involved. Your phone call could help to stop that driver before their actions behind the wheel continue to endanger others who are out on the road. Speaking of Interstate 64, those of you who drive it on a daily basis should be on the lookout for slow-moving pavement patching crews over the next couple of weeks. The Indiana Department of Transportation says starting on Monday, patching crews will work between State Road 61 at exit 39 and State Road 66 at exit 92 each day from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The work spans Crawford, DuBois, Perry, Spencer, and Warwick counties. As always, INDOT is encouraging drivers to slow down and stay alert near the mobile patching crews. INDOT says the crews are simply working to provide a safer, smoother ride for everyone. For more news and information, you can go online to INDOT Southwest's Facebook and Twitter pages. And finally tonight, veterans in our viewing area will soon have more opportunities to be honored for their service. Indy Honor Flight, a nonprofit organization, is continuing to work towards starting a hub in Evansville. The hub will be known as the Southern Indiana Honor Flight Hub. The organization had its first flight out of Evansville on October 25th of this past year, and 70 veterans in all took part. The organization as a whole sent 6 of the honor flights to Washington, D.C. last year. Indy Honor Flight started back in 2012, and the organization is part of the National Honor Flight Network. The idea is to fly veterans to Washington, D.C. in order to let them see the memorials that have been dedicated in honor of their sacrifices for our freedom. The flight is free of charge to veterans. Grant Thompson is the chairman of Indy Honor Flight. He says things are starting to come together for the new hub.
Evansville has been working hard at gathering board members, volunteers, collecting applications from the veterans themselves so that we can take another flight in the spring. They took the first flight in the fall of last year, and it was an incredible success. We came back to the airport that evening. There's thousands of people there to welcome these men and women home and to say thank you for their service. After all, they went off and they fought for our freedom, and they saved the world.
Thompson says the Southern Indiana Honor Flight Hub will be the newest one in the entire network. The network currently has more than 100 such hubs across the nation. Thompson says though the first flight out of Evansville had some veterans from Jasper and DuBois County on it, the organization is looking for even more involvement from our local area.
There's several veterans in Jasper who have already been on the flight or are on the waiting list, and we want more to sign up. We want the folks of that community to come out and support the Honor Flight program and our mission. Come down. If you know a veteran, sign them up. Get them on the list. Come on out to the airport. Welcome them home that night.
Thompson says there are also plenty of opportunities for people to volunteer, and these include being an assistant to a veteran on the flights. Thompson says the organization is still working to get all of the World War II veterans out to Washington, D.C., as the average World War II veteran is now 90 years old. He says once that is done, the organization will move to get Korean and Vietnam War veterans onto the flights and will eventually honor those who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan in more recent years. Thompson says the flights have been a great way to honor veterans as the various wars they fought fade from the public conscience.
So World War II is a little less each year, so we're trying to let people know how important this is, and they'll see that. And these kids that are 5 or 10 years old, they're there waving a flag, thanking our veterans as they come back. Veterans that are 90 years old, we're talking great-great-grandparents to these kids, okay? But they now know that's how you treat your veterans. That's how important our veterans are. United States veterans are everything. It's our country's greatest asset, so they now know that's what we do. That's how we say thank you.
Now, earlier this week, the organization announced its plans for Indy Honor Flight 10. It will be the first time that the organization is using 2 airplanes, as so many veterans signed up that one is no longer enough. Indy Honor Flight is anticipating 200 veterans to take part in that trip. It will leave from Indianapolis Saturday, April the 4th. Now, the organization is always accepting donations to help cover the costs for transportation, as the average cost per veteran on these trips is $450. Again, as we noted earlier, the veterans are being flown free of charge by Indy Honor Flight, though the organization is a nonprofit. To donate, volunteer, or sign up for a future flight, you can go online to indyhonorflight.org. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Mark Messmer. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.